Welcome back to the Sleeper ZK YouTube channel. Today I'm going back to my roots a little bit, doing a little bit of a how-to tech video on the dreaded turbo coolant leak on a 3.5 EcoBoost. This is a 2013, but I believe what I'm going to do today actually covers a wide range of years, all the way up into the 16s and 17s, I know for sure. And that's just the 3.5, not the 2.7. The dreaded coolant leak, if you read up on it, a lot of people will tell you it's very difficult, that it's really hard to get at, and I agree. And even I got to the point where I was about to give this to the local dealer and just pay the money and have them do it. But if you know me, you know my ego does not allow me to do smart things like that, and I have to dive in myself and see if I can fix it first. I got lucky. Of the two coolant lines that are on each turbo, there's one that goes from the turbo forward on the engine, and then there's one that goes kind of on the top side of the turbo-ish to the back of the engine. Luckily on my truck, the leak is coming from the line going forward, and I dove into it, and come to find out, it's really not that bad. So I've got the new parts sitting here. I'm going to show you those, and then we're going to dive in the truck, and I'll show you kind of the layout of where the coolant line goes and how to get it in and out. So to be more specific on which one we're doing that I'm going to show you today, this one is on the driver's side, and I believe that this setup actually mirrors the passenger side, so I don't think I need to show both sides. And this is just the front coolant line. If you are one of the unlucky ones that it's actually leaking from the rear of the engine or the other line, good luck. I'm not really sure how to get to that one. Sorry to be so blunt about it, but I got lucky on this one. This is what we're dealing with here. So here's the old coolant line that I got out, and the two fittings. These are really important because if you look, you can see there's some corrosion, and this is the turbo side of the line. It actually sets in the truck like that if you're facing that way. And then you have the small fitting that would go here, and the larger fitting that goes in the block. I got those backwards. So I've got the new parts here. I got these from Ford because I wanted to make sure I got the genuine correct parts. And while you're in there, get the line, get the fittings. It was about 80 bucks for all this, and that's just retail price. I'm not special or anything, so you may get a discount on parts. I don't, but as you can see, the new fittings come with the O-rings already inside, a new O-ring on the outside. And I know what you're thinking, why didn't you just put new O-rings in the old ones? Because it's not worth the hassle. When you go to take these out and figure out how inconvenient they are to get to, it's definitely worth the 20-30 bucks just to get all new fittings with the correct O-rings and not worry about it. As well as this coolant line, it's nice, clean, painted, and obviously I got corrosion, which you can't really fix that. So we got new parts, so let's go under the truck and show you where it goes. If you want to pause the video, here are the three part numbers for the driver's side, front coolant line, and the two fittings. I'll also try to remember to put these in the description as well. Alright, so here we are under the hood, and from what I originally understood, I was told that the easiest way to do this is take the turbo out. And I can say for certain with the front line, you do not have to take the turbo out. However, it is extremely beneficial to take off all of your intercooler piping, intake piping, get all of that out the way, all the way down to the turbo. You can see my inlet and outlet on the turbo down there. It is very beneficial to spend 10 minutes and pull all that stuff out of the way. That way you can access the front of the line, which I was able to access from up here. Now we'll go underneath and I'll show you where the turbo side of the line goes. Alright, so here we are under the truck, and if you look straight up in the center of the picture, right there when you see that kind of corrugated line, I believe that's the oil drain tube, and right above that on the driver, this is the driver's side turbo, right above that you'll see where that little fitting is at, and the hose is coming out. Obviously in this video it is missing, and if we kind of go over here, move that over, right above that upper bolt for that piece of flex tube, you can see there's a little hole right there, and that's the port where this fitting needs to go. So what's going to be the most difficult part about this is figuring out how to get my hand up in there to at least get this started. To get it out, I used a pick because there's a snap ring inside here a little clip that holds that line in place. I used a long pick to reach up in there and get that out of the old one. And then for your new one, you just leave it in there. Put a little dielectric grease or O-ring grease or whatever you have on there, so that way when you go to put your line on, it'll just slide right in there. And if you look at the line, it's got kind of a tapered lock on it. It'll just slide right through there. It'll expand that ring, and then when it's seated, it'll lock right in place. So leave that little clip in there. You can see that. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut here and see if I can't get this fitting back up in there, and then we'll do the driver's side, and then we'll finagle our line back in there. All right, now you can see, guys, that new fitting is in there, right there, which that's not a very big hole to reach through. So the key to doing this, if you're like me, you have giant hands, it's really difficult to get up in there and get that fitting started, because it is aluminum going into cast. You really don't want to do it wrong. But if you happen to have an 8-year-old sitting around doing nothing, they have really good hands for reaching up in there and getting those fittings started. So I got to give credit to my boy. He came out here and slithered his little hand in there, and he got that fitting started for me. So I'm going to go ahead and get the ratchet up in there and get it tightened down. Then we're going to go up top and do the other side, and then all we got to do is pop the line back in. Heck yeah, thanks buddy.
Welcome.
Alright, here we are on the top side. Let's see if I can't get light in there. See if I can get some light in there. Oh, right there, that's where the other port goes. You can reference this shiny tube right here. As you can see, the fitting's out of that one. This is the first I've actually seen that. So you get your fitting in there, and it's a whole different size. It's a lot bigger. But once you get that one, then you can feed it forward to that other fitting. It goes, I thought maybe you might be able to see it, but you can't. It goes right there. So I'm going to see if I can't get the fitting in there, and you'll know it's the right one because this tube is almost right in the way. So if you use a socket and extension, it's kind of hard to get squared up on it. So make sure you get it in there finger tight first. That way you know it's not cross-threaded, and if you force it in with the tool that you can't square up on it. I'm willing to bet they'll strip out really easy. Alright, so there we have it. You see the new line up in there and the new fitting. Look at the zoom of this thing. No. Anyways, it's in there. And then it actually, you can see the other end of it. You look really closely right through that slot. Where to hold this camera. There, you can see the other end of it, and that's the other new fitting, but that is accessed from up top. So we got the line in there. It's in there. This is definitely one of those classic scenarios where you just want to find whoever engineered this and maybe have a few choice words with them. Also, one of them deals where I think if whoever engineered this also had to be the one to fix it, they probably would have done it a little bit differently. Again, can it be done? Yes. So what I ended up doing was, after him and I wrestled around for a little bit trying to figure out how we wanted to get it done, what ended up working the best, and I'm going to go back on what I said, A, pay somebody else to do this. B, if you're at the point I was at and you already had it tore apart and you're pretty much dedicated to the project, what worked the best was to get your fittings put in. And then what I ended up doing was the fitting on the block side towards the front, I ended up taking back out. That allowed for that pipe to orientate correctly enough. Using the bolt that holds the flange down, I was able to get it into the turbo side and get it seated, because it's at more of a 45 than a 90 like the block side is. So once I took that fitting out of the way, that end was able to go in the block and there was room for it to move around. Therefore the line could slide into place on the turbo side. Once it was clipped in, I then was able to take the mounting bolt back out, move the line out just enough and slide it up and then I could get that fitting put back in. Take the line, pull it out just a little bit, slide it down, seat it right back in there, tighten your bolt down. Something to note, when you put the block end back in, there is a little bit of, you can call it a flange or a ridge on the end of the pipe. That does not fully seat into that fitting. It does not snap in on the block side. It is held in by the flange and bolt, the tab, the mounting tab on the pipe. I verified this with both the old one and the new one, and a quick search also revealed it was correct. So I know for a fact on my turbo side, I can see that it is clipped in. If you can see in the video, I actually just used a pry bar once I had the flange holding the one on the other side to raise it up, get it seated, used a little mirror to make sure I could see that the tabs were locked in, got the other side seated, and we're good to go. So the question remains, would I do this again to the other side? I don't know. Would I recommend doing this? I mean, if I had to do it again, it probably wouldn't be as bad, but it's not fun. It can be done without pulling the turbo. Actually, the only thing I took off was the skid plate, the access underneath, and the intake and intercooler piping up on top. That was it. If you have any questions, please comment down below. Like and subscribe this video for more, especially on the EcoBoost. We're going to be doing some more fun stuff with it. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Dadgummit, stay good. We'll see you later.